Have you ever spent months, or even years, studying English, but feel like you're just stuck? You learn new words, you watch videos, but that feeling of really understanding, of being able to speak confidently, just seems out of reach? You're not alone. I've been there, and honestly, almost every single English learner I've ever met has been there too. The problem often isn't how hard you're trying. In fact, you might be trying too hard, or more importantly, trying in a way that's actually working against you. After years of teaching and chatting with learners from all over the world, I've noticed something. There are these common traps that so many of us fall into, little mistakes in our approach that slow us down without us even realizing it. That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to walk through some of the most common mistakes people make when learning English. And more importantly, we're going to talk about simple, practical ways you can fix them, starting today. Don't worry, this isn't about making you feel bad for making mistakes. Making mistakes is how we learn. This is about spotting those little habits that might be holding you back, so you can finally break through and start seeing the progress you deserve. So, let's jump right in with the first big one. And this is a habit I was guilty of for so long. It's the idea that you can just absorb a language through exposure, that if you listen to enough English, it will just magically stick. Now, immersion is great, but it's passive. The real magic happens when you get active, and that starts with writing things down. I can't tell you how many learners have conversations, watch a movie, or see a new word and think, "Oh, that's cool," and then never think about it again. Our brains are amazing, but they're also busy and they need a little help. This is why not keeping any kind of journal or notebook is such a common mistake. It seems small, but it makes a huge difference. Think about it like this. If you go on a trip and you don't take any photos, how well do you remember the details a year later? It all gets a bit fuzzy. But if you have photos, you can remember everything clearly. Your English journal is like a photo album for your learning. It doesn't have to be fancy. After you have a conversation, just take 2 minutes to jot down 1 or 2 new words or phrases you heard. If you watch a cool scene in a show, pause it and write a 1-sentence summary of what happened in your own words. When you learn a new vocabulary word, don't just write the word, write a simple sentence using it. This act of writing does something powerful. It forces you to slow down and process what you've just experienced. It tells your brain, "Hey, this is important. Save this." It moves that information from the short-term, easily forgotten part of your memory into the long-term storage. Plus, it gives you an amazing personal textbook to review later. Imagine looking back in 6 months and seeing hundreds of words and sentences that you collected that are relevant to your life. It's incredibly motivating. So, grab a notebook, open a notes app on your phone, whatever works for you. Just start writing. Now, let's say you've started writing things down. Awesome! You've got this great list of new words. But then another problem sneaks in. You look at your list on Monday, you feel like you know them, and then by Friday, they've completely vanished from your mind. You can't even remember learning them. This is so frustrating, and it leads people to think they have a bad memory. But you don't. It's just how human brains are designed to work. We forget things. It's natural. The mistake isn't forgetting, the mistake is learning something once and expecting to remember it forever. This is where a super simple but incredibly effective technique comes in, spaced repetition. It sounds technical, but it's really just a fancy way of saying, reviewing things at smart intervals. Instead of cramming for 2 hours on Sunday and then not looking at English again until next Sunday, you review for a shorter time, but you do it more often. Learn a new word on Monday. Glance at it again on Tuesday. Maybe test yourself on it on Thursday. Then check it again the following Monday. Each time you successfully recall it, the memory gets stronger and stronger, and the time between needed reviews gets longer. You're basically training your brain right at the moment it's about to forget. You're saying, not so fast, I still need this. There are amazing apps like Anki or Quizlet that automate this whole process for you, which is great. But you can also do it the old-fashioned way with your notebook and a calendar. Just the simple act of planning to revisit your notes every few days will completely change the game. It ensures that all that effort you put into learning and writing things down doesn't just disappear. It sticks. And finally, for this first part, let's talk about a mistake that feels really comfortable. It's the temptation to stay in your learning comfort zone. We all have our favorite things. Maybe you love watching tech reviews on YouTube, so you only watch those. Or you feel most comfortable reading news articles about topics you already know well. It feels safe. It feels manageable. But the problem is, if you only ever do what's comfortable, you only ever get better at what you're already good at. Your English growth happens when you venture into the unknown, just a little bit. If you only watch tech reviews, you'll get great at the vocabulary for, processing power, and camera specs, but you might struggle to talk about your weekend, your feelings, or a great book you read. Pushing yourself out of your comfort zone means deliberately choosing to engage with material that is a little bit challenging or outside your usual interests. If you always watch action movies, try a romantic comedy or a nature documentary. If you always read news, try a short story or a blog about cooking. You'll be exposed to a whole new world of vocabulary, sentence structures, and ways of expressing ideas. It might feel awkward or difficult at first, and that's okay. That feeling is actually a sign that you're learning. You don't have to do it all the time, but just make it a habit to sometimes choose the thing that seems a little less familiar. It's in that space, just outside your comfort zone, where the most exciting learning happens. And once you start making these small changes, writing things down, reviewing them smartly, and branching out in what you watch and read, you start to build a really solid foundation. But there's another side to learning that often gets overlooked, and it has less to do with your study plan and everything to do with your mindset, and that's exactly where we're going to pick things up next. So, we've started building a stronger foundation by being active with our learning, reviewing smarter, and venturing out of our comfort zones. But here's the thing about learning a language, it's not just about the what, it's also about the when and the how. And this is where a lot of us, with the best intentions, set ourselves up to fail without even realizing it. Let's talk about timing. I get it. Life is busy. You have work, school, family, a million things going on. For most people, the only quiet time they can find to study is late at night, after everything else is done. You finally sit down at 10 p.m., open your textbook or an app, and you're just exhausted. Your brain is fried. You're half asleep. You try to push through, reading the same sentence 4 times, but nothing is going in. Sound familiar? This is such a common mistake, only studying when you're already tired. You feel productive because you're putting in the time, but in reality, you're not retaining much. It's like trying to fill a cup that's already full. Your brain, just like any other part of your body, has a limited amount of energy and focus. When it's tired, it can't perform. The solution isn't to study more, it's to study smarter with your schedule. Try this tiny shift. Instead of one long, draining session at night, see if you can find just 10 or 15 minutes in the morning. When your mind is fresh, maybe right after you wake up or during your breakfast. Use that time to do one small thing. Review 5 vocabulary words from your notebook. Listen to a short English podcast while you're getting ready. Read a couple of headlines from an English news site. That's it. This isn't about replacing your evening study time completely, it's about balancing it. That fresh morning session will be so much more effective. You'll be amazed at how much more you remember from just 10 focused minutes than from an hour of struggling at night. It's about quality, not just quantity. Now, speaking of quantity, this leads us to another big mistake, and this one comes from a really good place. It comes from dedication. It's the feeling that you have to study every single day, without a break, or you'll fall behind. You feel guilty if you take a day off. I've totally been there. You think, if I skip today, I'll forget everything. But that's just not true. In fact, not taking breaks is one of the fastest ways to burn out and quit altogether. Think about it like exercising. If you go to the gym and lift weights every single day, never giving your muscles time to rest and recover, what happens? You don't get stronger, you get injured, exhausted, and you start to hate it. Your brain works the same way. Learning isn't just the time you spend staring at a book, it's also the time you spend away from it. When you rest, your brain is still working in the background, processing and consolidating all that new information. It's making connections. That's why you sometimes suddenly understand a grammar rule you struggled with yesterday while you're out for a walk today. Giving yourself permission to take a real break is not laziness, it's a strategic part of the learning process. Schedule it. Maybe you study for 5 days and then take the weekend off. Or after you finish a big goal, reward yourself with a couple of days of just watching movies for fun, with no pressure. You'll come back to your studies feeling refreshed, motivated, and ready to learn, instead of tired and resentful. But you know, even with the perfect schedule and plenty of rest, there's one giant monster that holds more people back than anything else. It's not a problem with method or time. It's an internal problem. It's fear. The fear of making a mistake. The fear of sounding stupid. The fear of being judged. This fear is so powerful that it can completely paralyze us. It makes us avoid speaking in class, it makes us too nervous to join a conversation, it makes us never write that comment online because we're worried our grammar isn't perfect. I want to tell you something important. Fear is the enemy of progress. If you let fear stop you from practicing, you are blocking your own path to improvement. The only way to become good at speaking is to speak, even when it's messy. The only way to become good at writing is to write, even with errors. Every single fluent English speaker you admire has made thousands upon thousands of mistakes. I still make mistakes. Mistakes are not a sign of failure, they are proof that you are trying. They are the raw material for learning. The next time you feel that fear rising up, acknowledge it, and then do it anyway. Send the text message. Join the conversation. Say the sentence. Be brave. Each small act of courage makes the fear a little smaller and your confidence a little bigger. And finally, let's talk about direction. Imagine you get in your car, start the engine, and just start driving with no destination in mind. You might enjoy the drive for a little while, but soon you'll feel lost. You'll have no idea if you're going the right way or if you're even getting anywhere. This is exactly what it's like to learn English without any goals. You might study a bit of this and a bit of that, but without a target, it's hard to feel motivated or see your own progress. This is why not setting clear, achievable goals is such a common mistake. Goals give you a roadmap. They turn a vague wish like, I want to be good at English, into a concrete plan. And goals don't have to be huge and intimidating like, become fluent in 3 months. In fact, it's better if they're small and specific. A goal can be, this week, I will learn 10 words related to my job. Or, this month, I will have a 5-minute conversation with my language partner without using my native language. Or, I will read 1 short news article in English every day this week. Write these goals down in that journal we talked about. At the end of the week, look back and check them off. That feeling of accomplishment, of seeing that you did what you set out to do, is incredibly powerful. It proves to yourself that you are moving forward, even when it feels slow. It gives you motivation to keep going. And as you start moving forward with more confidence and clear goals, you might find yourself relying on one favorite way of learning. Maybe you love your app, or you only watch videos. But sticking to just one method is like trying to build a house with only a hammer. It's a great tool, but you're going to need more than that. And that's where we'll go next. So we've navigated through some huge hurdles together, from managing our schedule and allowing ourselves to rest, to facing our fears and setting clear goals. But there's a more subtle mistake that so many learners make, one that slowly limits their progress without them even noticing, relying on just one single way of learning. It's completely understandable. You find a method that feels comfortable, maybe an app you really like, a YouTube channel you enjoy, or a textbook that makes sense. And because it feels good, you stick to it. Exclusively. But here's the thing, language is not a single skill. It's a whole set of skills. It's listening, speaking, reading, writing, building vocabulary, and understanding grammar. If you only ever use one tool, you're only ever developing one part of your ability. It's like going to the gym and only ever doing bicep curls. Sure, you'll have great arms, but you'll struggle to run a mile or carry your groceries. Maybe you love watching English videos. That's fantastic for your listening comprehension and picking up natural phrases. But if that's all you do, your speaking and writing skills might lag behind. Conversely, maybe you love studying grammar exercises from a book. That gives you a strong technical foundation, but if you never listen to how real people actually talk, you might sound a bit too formal or bookish in conversation. True fluency, the kind that feels natural and effortless, comes from balance. It comes from exercising all your language muscles. Don't be afraid to mix it up. If your main method is an app, try to balance it this week by writing a short paragraph in a journal. If you love reading, try to find a podcast on the same topic to train your ears. The different methods support each other. The words you read become easier to recognize when you hear them, and the phrases you hear can naturally pop into your head when you're trying to speak. This cross-training makes your knowledge deeper and more flexible. And this leads me to what might be the most important point of all. Learning a language can sometimes feel like a very lonely journey. It's just you and your textbook, or you and your phone screen. It's easy to feel isolated, to lose motivation when you have no one to share the small wins and the frustrations with. That's why one of the biggest mistakes is trying to go it completely alone. Finding a learning partner, or even a small community, can completely change your experience. This doesn't have to be a formal teacher. It can be a friend who is also learning, someone you meet in an online language exchange group, or a fellow commenter on a channel like this one. Having just one person to share the journey with makes a world of difference. You can practice conversations together, explain tricky concepts to each other. Teaching is a fantastic way to learn, share new words you've discovered, and most importantly, encourage each other on the days when motivation is low. Suddenly, it's not just your goal anymore, it's a shared mission. That sense of connection is a powerful motivator that can keep you going when willpower alone isn't enough. Finally, we arrive at the last common mistake, and it's closely related to sticking to what's comfortable. It's the tendency to only do the parts of English learning that we enjoy, and completely avoid the parts we find boring or difficult. Let's be honest, everyone has their preferences. You might love watching movies but hate drilling grammar rules. You might enjoy reading but get nervous about speaking. It's human nature to gravitate towards what brings us joy and avoid what causes us stress. But fluency requires a balanced diet. You can't only eat dessert. You need your vegetables and protein too. If you only ever do the fun, easy things, you'll develop gaps in your knowledge. Maybe your listening is great, but your grammar is holding you back from writing correctly. Maybe your vocabulary is vast, but your pronunciation makes it hard for others to understand you. The key is to acknowledge the parts you avoid and give them just a little bit of your time. You don't have to spend hours on them. Just 10 minutes a day on that one skill you dislike can make a monumental difference over time. Think of it as brushing your teeth. You might not love doing it, but you do it because you know it's essential for your long-term health. Well, this is essential for your long-term language health. And that brings us to the end of our list. We've covered a lot of ground together. From the power of writing things down and reviewing them wisely, to the importance of stepping out of your comfort zone. We've talked about studying when your mind is fresh, giving yourself permission to rest, and being brave enough to make mistakes. We've looked at how goals give us direction, why we need a variety of tools, how a partner can keep us going, and why we sometimes have to do the things we don't love. But if I could leave you with one final thought, it would be this: be kind to yourself. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a journey with ups and downs, amazing breakthroughs, and frustrating plateaus. Every single person on this path makes mistakes. That's how we learn. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. It's about being a little better today than you were yesterday. Celebrate the small victories. Did you understand a joke in a TV show? That's a win. Did you use a new word correctly in a text message? That's a win. Did you have a 5-minute conversation without switching to your native language? Huge win. I want you to know that I am incredibly proud of you for even being here, for investing your time and energy into improving yourself. That alone is a massive achievement. So keep going. Keep curious. Keep making those beautiful, messy mistakes. You are capable of so much more than you think. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Which of these mistakes do you relate to the most? What's one small change you're going to try to make this week? Sharing your goal can make it more real. And if you found this helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to subscribe for more content to support you on your English learning journey. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, every great speaker was once a beginner. You've got this.